Today, we talk to the outgoing British High Commissioner, Lisa Chesney. We talk about in 3 years service as High Commissioner na Saloon. And Lisa Chesney take up Ghana Saloon in August 2021 and take up office as British High Commissioner in September 2021, exactly 3 years. Lisa, they say goodbye to the people of Saloon. But how it don't turn like so far, Lisa Chesney?
I'm so glad for being here, and I'm not ready for go, actually, Musa. I'd try and mix Creole and English, so I'll try this bit in English. So 3 years, I can't believe 3 years has gone so fast. There are times sometimes when it's felt like a lifetime, particularly in some of the difficult moments. But no, this has been a fantastic time, and I feel privileged to have served here.
What's the role of the British High Commissioner in diplomatic relations between the two countries, or the function of a British High Commissioner entirely?
So that's a really good question. So effectively, we are the representative of the UK government, of the King, overseas. And that's really our role, is to build a bridge between two countries. And that's something I've really enjoyed doing here in Sierra Leone. So we oversee the UK's activities overseas. And as you know here, that's been really wide-ranging for us. So that's the role of the High Commissioner.
All right, you talked about UK activity here in Sierra Leone. For the benefit of listeners, highlight some of the activities of the UK, country activity here in Sierra Leone. What are some of the activities so far you have undertaken?
So I think one of the things that I love in Creole is you've got lots of phrases to describe how you need lots of people to do things. Like one finger, not a pig stone. One finger, no pull banger from fire. I love lots of phrases about that. So actually the UK achievements or activities are not just about the UK. One of the things that's really important for us is to work in partnership. So everything that I'm going to describe are things that we do together. We do it together with civil society and activists, with government, with opposition, with everybody. So, but the things I think perhaps that I'm most proud of, if I look back, probably 3 broad areas to start with. I mean, the first has to be, and I'm probably going to say this, making a difference to the lives of women and children in Sierra Leone. So I'm really proud that we've been able to, I think over 7 years, it's about 1 million people have had increased access to family planning. So that means women and families can decide when they want to have children, how many children, etc. You've seen the investment that the UK's put in, together with Sierra Leone, on the health side, that's contributed to that 61% drop in maternal mortality over a 10-year period. It's been really uplifting meeting people like Sister Gifty that certainly is mentoring other midwives. On the education side, we've helped double the girls in secondary school, the access to education, closing that performance gap between boys and girls. So certainly making a difference, I think, to the lives of women and children would be one big area for us. I think the second area I'd picked up, we put much more emphasis on growth over the 3-year period, and we can talk about that a little bit more as well, if you'd like.
All right. What's your assessment so far in terms of laws protecting women and girls in Sierra Leone? What's your assessment so far?
So I think Sierra Leone stands out against many African countries. Now, this is not to say easy for women here, is it? So, and women are the backbone of the country, I would say. And I've had the pleasure of meeting really strong women all over the country, in a place where still, I think, a third of men believe that violence against women is okay. That really is going to be a barrier to the country realising its full potential. Having said all that, I think when it comes to laws and it comes to progress, Sierra Leone stands out. It really does. So the GWE Act for me is groundbreaking. I'm really excited to see 34% of ministers in Parliament, to meet strong women leaders like our mayor in the opposition, and many other councillors. I think things are changing for the better. The focus on the national state of emergency against rape, there are areas where legislatively and socially Sierra Leone is changing, and that's needed everyone. It's needed the government with the vision, it's needed Parliament, including the opposition, to support, and it's needed those phenomenally dedicated activists, feminists, civil society operatives all over the country to make a difference.
You've just highlighted some of the areas that you've been working around: health, education, governance, strengthening bilateral ties. Before we look at specifics, how has it been like 3 years down the line since you took over as the British High Commissioner to Sierra Leone?
What a great question, Musa. I mean, it's been, in English, I would often say it's been a roller coaster ride. So there's always ups and downs, but it's been, I have been privileged to be here for 3 years, and I gladi for the way una welcome me, yeah? So I've been made to feel very welcome here in Salone. And I think as I end these 3 years, I reflect the thing to me that is perhaps most memorable. It's just interactions and spending time with different people all over the country. I said goodbye last night to some of our Chevening scholars, change makers. I met them in actually my first week in country. So meeting people that really want to make a difference for their country has been very uplifting. Seeing some of the sectors in Sierra Leone that are really vibrant, that don't get necessarily not involved on the politics, the private sector, seeing what's happened on the creative sector side, seeing what's happening in the business space and investment space, including through our very vibrant Chamber of Commerce. There are lots of experiences, I think, that will stick with me over this 3-year period that tell me there are many people that want to keep on taking Sierra Leone to another level, and that I find very motivating.
Describing your tenure as a roller coaster ride, what are the unforgettable moments? Whether bitter or sweet?
There are so many. I think let me just pick one most recently. I think seeing people who have got courage and resilience in all circumstances is always uplifting. I still remember at the McKenney Marathon, I've gone along to a couple of those, running with the amputee football team. Oh, those guys were fit. They needed to slow down so that I could keep up with them. Being greeted sometimes when I'm out in the remote chiefdoms by paramount chiefs and hearing about the UK connections has been really uplifting. Seeing Parliament do great things, seeing government and opposition vote, debate, discuss, disagree, and change the course of history for Sierra Leone, whether that's on the Jiwi bill, on the death penalty, on really important laws that make it better for UK citizens. Things actually that connect our two countries, celebrating the King's coronation here, and also actually seeing the support when our Queen died. So there are various different moments that will stick with me. So some of the areas that I think also that we're most proud of will stick with me, being with the 19 grant recipients of our MOVE programme. This is basically getting resources and power right to the grassroots, right to girls and women who are leading organisations. Hearing what they're going to do with those resources will stick with me for a very, very long time to come.
All right. You mentioned that you worked around education, health, and other areas. Are you satisfied, or are these areas improved so far since you've been here?
So I think we should never be satisfied that we've done enough in whatever country we operate in. But what I do see is really tangible change. If you point to a doubling of girls in secondary school, and we all know the evidence tells us that when girls are in secondary school, mothers who can read their children will have greater chances of survival. We know that it's not just benefiting women. People say, do you only care about women and girls? Of course not. Because actually when women do well, the whole of society does well, and there's ample evidence to support that. So I think we need to keep pushing on education. I'm really glad that more out-of-school girls have got access to learning. There's been a lot of investment in tackling sexual violence in the education space, particularly with our support in secondary. And on the health side, there are genuine achievements. That drop in maternal mortality is actually globally recognised. All the focus that's now going on investigating every single maternal death means that there's a better chance of another mother surviving. So really tangible changes, and of course there will be more to do.
All right, going to Uganda this October, any change in your mandate, or are you going to work in the same areas that you have worked in Sierra Leone?
So in all honesty, I find it hard to think about Uganda yet, because still Minas Alone until the day I go. But everywhere where we are, the UK is all over the globe. And our role is to build that bridge between the UK and the country that we're in. It's to look at how can we make a constructive difference, how can we deliver our government's objectives, and looking for that sweet spot where we can do that in a way, obviously, that benefits the country. So I'm yet to discover what will be the main areas of focus. I know that my Foreign Secretary and my Prime Minister talk a lot about partnership. They talk about finding what works for both countries. And they're also talking a lot about growth, because everybody benefits when countries grow and countries economically develop.
You made mention of building bridges. That takes me to one of the specifics that I highlighted earlier, strengthening bilateral ties. How has it been like under the tenure of Lisa Chesney in strengthening the relationship between Sierra Leone and Britain?
So one of the things I've loved since I've been here has been the strength of the relationship and the many connections, and not just the formal obvious ones, but all those hundreds of day-to-day connections that exist between the UK and Sierra Leone for obvious reasons. You know, I'd read about Radio Democracy, you remember, before I came out to Salone, and I knew the connections that we'd had with Radio Democracy. So even yesterday I was at the state opening of Parliament, and I see ceremonies and things that link our two countries. So the bilateral relationship has been strong, and we will continue to strengthen it. So Lord Collins, our Minister of Africa, spoke to the Foreign Minister Tim Kabbah just yesterday, actually, just talking about how we take this forward. Now, like with every relationship, there'll be times when you don't see things the same way. And over 3 years, it would be odd if that hadn't been the case, and it has. But what I've really appreciated is that we've always had space to sit down, to discuss, to explain where we disagree, and to refine common ground.
Sometime back, we had the British High Commission, the visa office almost being removed to the Gambia, and the relationship between Sierra Leone and Britain in terms of history is rich. Moving the office to the Gambia as an attempt, was that in any way a signal into the deteriorating relationship between the two countries?
No, not at all. It's actually a really commercial decision how the UK runs its visa services, and it's actually under review at the moment. But we don't have visa offices in every country that we operate. So Sierra Leone is actually already significantly better serviced than many other African countries that have to travel to Ghana or to Nigeria. They don't have any ability to even do biometrics in country. So it's simply really a commercial question. So that part of the system is run commercially. No link to
before this time, it used to be a visa-free between the two countries. Was in any way during your tenure in office thinking about that coming again, or reducing the complexity of having a visa for Sierra Leoneans going to the UK, considering the history between the two countries?
So there are some issues that can get decided and driven locally, and there's a lot in that space. So where we focus, where we spend our money, all of those things. When it comes to global services like visas, then unfortunately that's not something as High Commissioner that I could decide. I wish it was. Although maybe I don't then, because my phone is already red hot with people asking me for visas. It would probably get worse. So those decisions are decided centrally about what commercially makes sense for the UK, based on traffic, on numbers, on how applications go, and that's what drives where visa decisions get taken. So we can always feed back, and we do, and I certainly do when people complain, but that's not a decision that would be taken at a country level.
Lisa, during your tenure, some allegations against you of you interfering with our politics. For example, you liking Mayor Ivana Kisoya post, a lot of concern around that. Are you aware of some of these concerns or allegations against you?
So when you ask me about the high spots and the low spots, I think the low spots would generally involve where the political polarisation has sort of played into to how people engage with me. And I remember that one well. I also remember being accused at a press conference when my former Foreign Secretary was out of political interference. And look, the reality is, and I've said this many a time, and I'll never tire of saying it, we're here for the country. We are absolutely here for the country. We're here for the people. We're here for the UK-Sierra Leone relationship. We're not here for one country, or we're not here for another. And I hope that if people look at my tenure, they look over the 3 years, they'll see that we are really balanced in who we engage with. And we engage with people that want to make a difference for Salone. And we engage and we commend when people do things that are fantastic for Salone. So, you know, I celebrate the President's leadership on women and girls. That's not because of the politics, it's because he's done amazing things. I celebrate the Mayor's leadership in terms of transform Salone, transform Freetown, and all the things that we've worked together on. There's a strong female leader. That's not because she's the opposition or because she's the mayor, it's because she's doing great things. So I think one of my wishes for Salone is that people could look at the issues, not the politics. So if anyone does say we interfere, and believe me, plenty of people do, and I'm sure they will again later, I ask them to look at the full 3 years and look at the full extent of what we do, and then I'm always up for a conversation.
Lisa, let me take you to the issue of governance for that answer that I've just given. You've been in Sierra Leone for 3 years, and you've been here before, during, and after elections. And one of the products of the 2023 elections is the Tripartite Committee that has 3 components: the APC government and the development partners or international communities. What rule or what were the rules of the British High Commission in the Tripartite Committee's work?
So the Tripartite Committee is very much Salone leadership, and the development partners represented by the United Nations Resident Coordinator were really, I would say, the not the leading partner in that, because it had to absolutely be a settlement, a discussion, an agreement between government and also the main opposition party, and actually other parties also very importantly had the chance to feed in, and I think their voice is critical as this moves forward. So I think the role that we've played is really much just encouraging both government and opposition to stay the course, responding to any requests for help. We provided technical assistance to important parts of the process. So there was an independent secretariat that was supporting those really difficult discussions between the committee on the government side and the opposition side that worked through to come up with those 80 recommendations. So this is really, it's support from behind the scenes to a Sierra Leone-led process.
Lisa, whether in governance, whether in health, whether in education, environment, or bilateral ties, what are the successes of the British High Commission under the leadership of Lisa?
So the successes are not my successes or just UK successes or just my brilliant team at the High Commission successes, and they are very brilliant. They are successes because we've all worked together. And I've touched on some of the things, but I would pick on girls in education, the performance gap closing. I pick on rehabilitation to critical aspects of Sierra Leone's water supply or Freetown's water supply. I would touch on removing some of the barriers to growth, particularly in the energy space. You know, I'm proud that we played a really key role in 95 off-grid electricity systems, solar systems, and our role as a major funder in improving the transmission line or supporting the transmission line between Bow and Kenema, bringing, you know, when it's complete, it will be significantly better for the second and third cities in Sierra Leone. I'm proud that we've managed, aside of all the things I've mentioned on the women and girls agenda, one of the things we heard loud and clear from activists, from feminists, from civil society is get the support closer to the grassroots. We've got that. So through the MOVE programme, we've got a programme directly going to girls-led and women-led organisations, some of them even unregistered, because they know what it makes sense to do to tackle sexual violence, sexual and gender-based violence. It supports economic empowerment, it supports all other sort of issues at a grassroots level. So I'm proud that we've managed to absorb the risk and get the money closer to the grassroots.
What kind of support have you been giving to these areas? Is it financial, technical? What kind of support actually?
So, and that's a really good question, because support really varies. Everyone thinks about a programme because that's how things have operated, but support can take many, many forms. As I come back, everything that happens here happens because of Salone leadership, and then we support whether it's a vision of the government, whether it's an ambition of the mayor in Freetown, whether it's an intent or desire of civil society. So we've got to have some element of local leadership for it to be a proper partnership. And our support takes many forms. It could be through technical assistance. It could be through, as we talked about on health and education, multi-year, multifaceted programs that we co-design with ministries. It could be experts embedded, it could be advocacy or lobbying, providing a space for others to do their jobs, making voices heard actually for people that want to get a message out, looping people up with experts in the UK, providing support in the United Nations Security Council as Sierra Leone takes up its presidency, which is a fantastic move.
All right. Lisa, after the election, we have a lot of issues around the credibility of the elections. Which areas you think that as a country we should improve on for long-lasting peace and development?
So I'm always glad when people talk about the long term, because one of the things that you might have seen actually from the Tripartite is the Tripartite committees, the committee working on the Tripartite, look back at evidence going back to all elections, right, actually back to 2007. So the Tripartite existed because of the 2023 elections. There were disputes around the 2023 elections, and we should never shy away from that. Some of those issues, you can see systemic weaknesses over other elections too. So the areas I think to focus, I mean, have a look, if you haven't done already, I'm sure you have as you're very responsible journalists, at the 80 or so recommendations where government and opposition managed to agree. You know, the things that are really important for me are that reform, you know, thinking about how does the Electoral Commission have the credibility and trust of the country. I welcome the independent review actually of the Commission. I think that's great. I really welcome the recognition that there needs to be a better appointment process for commissioners, civil society nominations, you know, civil society playing a role. It can't just be decided by one person. There are other things. So I think making sure that the Commission and the electoral management bodies are as strong as possible is really important. National dialogue on big issues that matter for the people of Sierra Leone. Again, you can see a recommendation within that. Continuing to focus on transparency, on inclusivity, on making sure that everyone feels involved in major changes in the electoral system is key. And then there's some fundamental things that I think are really important. Public order, you know, looking at the Public Order Act, looking again about raising the standards in how we handle cybercrime to international standards. I could go on, but there are some key building blocks here that if implemented, they have to be implemented quickly, they have to be implemented inclusively, and they have to have the support of the country. And if they are in place, then they have a good chance of strengthening democracy for everybody.
Okay, let's look at the work of the Tripartite Committee. Are you okay with their work, or the willingness from both APC and SLPP during this process?
I often used to say the job I would least like during the elections was that of the electoral commissioner, because my goodness, that would have been a tough gig. And I also think the job of anyone in the Tripartite Committee was incredibly tough. When I see the noise and the pressure coming directed at both sides, the easiest thing at various different stages in the process would have been either for government members or opposition members to just walk away from the table. But I respect the fact that they didn't, and they stuck with it, and that took some courage, I think, to do so. So the fact that everyone likes to focus on what is different and what people don't agree on, when people tell me that they don't think that the work is very good, I generally start by asking them if they've read the report, and actually 9 times out of 10 people haven't. So I urge everyone to have a look at it. I urge everyone to be asking their MP what is happening on implementation, when are we going to have more information at a local level. You know, I urge the citizens to really sort of drive this process. I think this is the best vehicle that we have for strengthening the electoral systems, for strengthening democracy in Sierra Leone, because it's a journey whatever country you're in, including for the UK.
Okay, in name na Lisa Chesney, the outgoing British High Commissioner. As he tell goodbye to the people of Saloon. Una continue for send una text messages them on 0779819181 and also go on our Facebook page and drop your comment on issues them we will discuss inside the program Good Morning Saloon. Man, I think
because we want to play by message music for Lisa, but look at messages then before we take the music day. And this one from Alima to say, I am so honored for your time given during the fight to raise awareness following the murder of Khadija Sako.
This one from Fode Bunduna with Facebook page. They say, what is the problem? We don't read things and quick to conclusion and make. Okay. On 0779819819 say, good morning Radio D and very good morning to Madam British High Commissioner. Congratulations for your good relationship and hard working being done in Sierra Leone as a very good woman with the staff and friends with your terms of work here. We really miss you, your friendship. Goodbye from Abdul Karim Mansare, a private gardener for your staff. And that's compound.
This other one from Mohammed is say, thanks very much, Lisa, for your contribution towards national development. We will always remember you, and I hope you return to Sierra Leone and can we back.
This one say from Mystic Nadwazak, who appoints a High Commissioner, the Prime Minister or the King?
What a great question. So actually, like every other job, I have to interview. I have to pass a panel interview. I wanted to come to Sierra Leone, so I got interviewed for it. Then the next stage is our Foreign Secretary has to sign it off, and ultimately everything will has to be signed off by our King. It also has to be signed off by the country, the government, the country that you're going to. So there's quite a few people that have to agree.
Okay, I think you go pen them down, you go respond to them. We take them all. This down Dauda Mahmoud Bulan, our Facebook page. He say, thank you, Lisa. We are truly grateful for your service to Sierra Leone.
This other one say, thank you for your service to Sierra Leone and we wish you well. What are you going to lost mostly when you think about Sierra Leone?
Fode Bundu, we say thanks for your service to our country. We are wishing you all the best in life.
This other one say, what's your relationship with civil society and the media, Lisa?
More text messages them na the program Good Morning Saloon. This one from Alima to now we Facebook page. They say we are proud of what you've accomplished for women in Sierra Leone. Thank you, Lisa.
This other one say thank you very much for all you have done in strengthening the relationship between the two countries. As you rightly said, democracy is a journey. Just like in the UK, it's the responsibility of all of us to put our hands in one desk.
Dauda Mahmoud Bla, he said, Lisa, please talk Creole. I will miss your Creole.
This one from Mystic Nadwazaki said, Lisa, how about your experience on Casada Leaf and Rest?
More messages now. The program. He said, what change did the Tripartite Committee have on the 2023 elections results? Also, I was expecting the committee to 2012 and 2018 elections from Maxen and England V.
The last one we may go take from now. For now, we say we'll definitely miss you, Lisa, because you interact with everybody. You don't have barriers in your work.
This one from say, Lisa, professionalism, kindness and commitment to help Sierra Leone succeed have set a precedent for her successor to emulate, especially during the early COVID days. Your educational video gender campaign elections days, her presence will greatly be missed, but we are grateful for the time here in Sierra Leone. God bless you, from Ishmael Alfred Charles. Say quick two-way come inside. He say Lisa, what can you say about the unrest in the UK? And also somebody, the Sina, Lisa, what is happening in the UK concerning the protest? What for the Bundu? What can he say? Okay, you can respond to the messages there. We don't come inside. If we get more as they come in, we will read them out for you.
Okay, thank you. What great questions. Let me start with the unrest in the UK, because I think it's troubling many of us. Now, you will know, because you've probably heard me say before, the freedom of assembly is something that's really important of the UK. We protect people's right to protest. That's really important. But this is not protest. This is crime. This is violent disorder. And our Prime Minister has been really, really clear. You know, we are a country that is a tolerant country, and I think we're all shocked and appalled by the violence. So there are some emergency measures going through our Parliament right now to help us tackle these issues. But certainly this is not something that we're considering as a process. It will be tackled as a crime. And I know measures, the police are on the street engaging with the communities, and we hope that this will calm down very, very quickly, which it is doing. On the other messages, you know, civil society and media, actually even following on from that point about unrest, civil society and media have got a hugely important role to play in every country, and particularly in Salone. And to that really good question, so civil society are often engaged in our activities. So particularly I've talked about Move as a programme. I'd love there to be even more support that we could give on the civil society side. They have been part of delivering some of the major changes, particularly for women and girls. A lot of support going into the GWE Act. We listen, we take advice, also from civil society voices. And the media, we've had really good relationships with SLAJ, through BBC Media Action, worked on capacity building. With SLAJ, Talking Drum, IRN, we did great sessions in hotspots actually after the election. So I think that relationship is strong, and I hope it will continue. I hope it will continue to go to strength. Now, I did try na Creole, okay? So I want to say na Creole. Waiting I like for food. How I find the cassava leaf. I like the cassava leaf. The Salone food is sweet. I like the Salone food. Me best food na granite soup. Okay, my chef Jenny, she did make fine granite soup, but I like the cassava leaf and rice too.
Somebody asked what's in my best Salone music.
Me best na Salone music. Ah, okay. As una no, I like for dance. Yeah, I can check with the Salone music. So I like all music. I like Drizzle, Freetown Uncut, Balanta. I always go to Balanta. That's got to get a special mention with Dr. Julius there. But I like Salone music, exactly. And I go miss Salone bad one.
Okay.
I go miss Boko things na Salone.
Lisa, we are looking at more messages, and there is one accusation here from Fodi on our Facebook saying the Great Britain has failed the Sierra Leone people and our democracy. That's from Fodi. Do you agree to that?
So I'm sure Fode isn't alone, and I'm sure there are people across the country that wanted the UK and many others to be standing up around the election if the result was not one that they respected. That's not the role of any government, to tell a country how it should be run. And much of the diplomacy will always be diplomacy that we do in private. We had very many difficult conversations around the election. I'm glad we had the space to do that, both myself and my ministers, and we did those privately. And I'm really pleased that the outcome of this is the Tripartite Committee is a mutual commitment from government and opposition to strengthen democracy. So no, I don't agree with Fode, and I would want to assure Fode and everybody else that we'll always do what we can to support the country's continual development. Not everybody will agree, because not everybody agrees on everything in Salone.
This other one from Charles Camara. Say your economy is down. If it was Sierra Leone, you would not have said it is a crime, but you should have said it's freedom of assembly. What a double standard. This one say, thank you for everything. I hope. All right, you will respond to that last message there.
So I'm curious what the other message said. So look, I think people always will talk about or compare the UK and Sierra Leone and think of double standards. I think there's a difference, whatever country you're in. I believe that people should have the right to protest. They should have the right to make peaceful protest, to use their voice and to say they're unhappy. That's why I'm glad that one of the recommendations coming out of the Tripartite Committee is precisely looking at the Public Order Act. That's really important. There is a difference between peaceful protest and planned violence and intimidation. People arriving with weapons, intent on destruction, or intent on, in this case, violence and racist violence against Muslims. That, to me, they are really two different things. They'd be two different things in the UK, they're two different things in Salone, they're two different things in Uganda. There is very much a line between peaceful protest, responsible peaceful protest, and coming out to do harm.
It's the very last one from me. From Ibrahim Sal. Good morning, everyone. Question to the outgoing British High Commissioner: what was the reasons why the UK folded up the British Council in Sierra Leone?
So the British Council decision, this was actually taken, I remember, before I came out here. It was a sad one, and it wasn't actually anything about UK Sierra Leone. There was over 20 British Council offices that closed, and again, just like the visa office, it came back to a commercial decision. So after COVID, one of the things that the British Council does, it's not actually part of government, it's what we call, it's at arm's length. It makes revenue through exam fees and through teaching and through events in country. And we all know how hard that was to do in COVID. And imagine that magnified at a global level. So some really, really difficult decisions had to be taken. That's taken in our capital, to close some of the council offices, and there were many of them. Salone happened to be one of them. What we are doing, and we have certainly been doing over the last 6 months, is work closely with the British Council based in Ghana to say, come back, dip your toe in the water. We really, really want the British Council to engage as much as possible, even if they do that remotely. And I'm sure that will be something that my successor would like to take forward as well.
I think you're about to leave us in the studio. Many questions from the listeners and the viewers. You've responded to many of them. But back in the studio, let's look at what will Lisa miss about Sierra Leone.
I go miss beaucoup things. Yeah, I go miss the people them. The people so friendly. The people savvy bio stranger. So I've always been made to feel very welcome. I go miss the food. I go miss beaucoup places. I've been get the chance for beaucoup wakasai. I don't go now 15 out of 16 districts. This is a fine country. So the people, the places, the food, the dance, I would say. I no one for go, and I go miss Salone too bad.
We saw some time back Peter Penfold, a then British High Commissioner, after his duty in Sierra Leone, he came back, and this time around as a Sierra Leonean till death. Would we see that in Lisa Chesney coming back to Sierra Leone?
Well, I very much hope so, because Mina Salone and them, for the beginning, you will have Josephine Gould, my excellent successor. It's always easy to hand over the baton to another brilliant woman. So I'm sure she will want space to do her job. But very much, I think my relationship with Sierra Leone is one that will continue. And at a comeback.
Would the can take over, Lisa? And when we expect for...
What can you expect?
Yes.
So you can expect a strong, capable, experienced diplomat. I'm really glad to be handing over the baton to Josephine. She's got a range of experience. She comes to us from Nairobi, straight from Nairobi. She's been our ambassador in Côte d'Ivoire. She's had time in Nigeria, so she's really excited about coming to Sierra Leone. I'm sure she'll have her own emphasis. I'm sure she'll work out what her own, make up her own mind on what the food is that she likes. But I'm handing over to a really good person, and I'm glad it's still woman power for a bit longer at the British High Commission.
Plenty thank you for joining me inside the program this morning. So waiting could be your message to Salone. These are the talk on Creole. Waiting could be your message to Salone people them. Strictly say on Creole so people.
Okay, I try na Creole. I say plenty thank you for the way you hold me. I'm glad if we rub skin together with people all over the country. Thank you for the way you want to hold me.
It's plenty. Thank you for joining me inside the program this morning. Because we understand, say you go on AYV this morning. I do. Plenty. Thank you, and we wish you good luck and in all your works.